So my name is Sean O'Shaughnessy. I'm from New Sales Expert LLC. I'm a fractional vice president of sales, and I'm actually here today at Tri-State Fabricators. And so I'm going to introduce you to Joe Vogt, who's the president and CEO of the company and the owner of the company. So thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it. And then my replacement, Jonathan Padile, who is the new vice president of sales, who has also been running sales since I've left there, so a couple of months now. So you've had some successes, some challenges you've gone through. So thank you very much for doing this. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's start off with a little bit of introduction. So why don't the two of you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and then you can tell us a little bit about the company as well.
Yeah, so I'm Joe Vogt, CEO of Tri-State, one of the owner of the company now, officially. Been here for about 20 years. So I'm involved in just about everything here. Chief Everything Officer as well, Chief Engagement Officer. Take my role very serious, obviously. You know, it's a family business, grown up in it my entire life, started 40 years ago-ish. And, you know, it's a great business overall. Best metal fabrication shop in the Midwest. And, you know, we've come a long way, so.
Good, thank you, thank you. Jonathan?
Yeah, my name is Jonathan Padile, VP Sales here. Been here now for about 6 months and came prior from a software company called Sigma Tech Systems. Been in the industry now for about 13 years. And it's been a pleasure working here so far. I've known Joe for a long time. He's actually a prior customer of mine. And so I've been here for 6 months. It's been nothing but a pleasure. It's been quite the challenge, but a lot of good things have come out of this. And obviously having you here has been quite, you know, it's been a huge help. And to be able to move that next step and really implement the things that you've taught us within your not only your sales playbook, but you know, just some of the logics and things like that within how we go to market. And it's been very helpful to me and my team and I. So
Great,
thank you.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. So to be fair, explain what kind of business you're in for those people who aren't familiar with steel fabrication.
Yeah, so for us, we're a contract manufacturer, right? We're looking for long-term partnerships that you know, we obviously were in the light fabrication world with finished goods. And so we've been around for, like Joe said, been around for 40 years. We've seen everything. We're, you know, not just only contract manufacturer, but we're a custom shop. So we've seen any kind of work. We're in the automotive industry to transportation to energy. But, you know, the biggest thing for us is, you know, we have operational efficiencies. We have our customer services, bar none, some of the best you'll see in the marketplace. We know we also have an advanced scheduling system we use, and we have some of the best machinery out in that shop that a lot of other people don't have. But at the end of the day, it's really about the people. It's not so much about the machinery you have or the technology. It's about the people you have within your company and within this, you know, the Tri-State Fabricators, more or less. So.
Great, thank you. And your grandfather started the company, right?
He did, yes, along with my my father and my two uncles, Jeff and Chris. And, you know, hard knocks, started from nothing. A lot of rig jobs over the years that they did, and you know, they came a very, very long way. You know, they were shop guys and just figured it out. My grandfather had a history of you know, being in leadership in companies and plant management and that type of thing, and they decided they wanted to work for themselves. And you know, one thing led to another, and you know, used to be a medicine cabinet organization called Vogt Manufacturing before Tri-State started, and that didn't really work out. And so they said, you know, let's start something from scratch. And Tri-State was born, and been working it ever since. And I came in 2002, got educated, and you know, one thing led to another, and I went from truck driver to CEO. So
There you
kind of
go.
worked my way up over the years. So
Did you really do almost every job out there?
I did. It was mainly on the paint side. Maybe dabbled in the fab side a little bit, but you know, I've been around it so long, you know, it's like I know it like the back of my hand. So
Right. Very cool. So you hired me about a year ago. Tell me a little bit about, and tell our viewers a little bit about, what was Tri-State's sales organization like? How did you get revenue? How did that all work before I came on board?
Yeah, sure. So, you know, mainly our sales team they were sales account managers, but everybody estimated their own stuff. Not really outside sales personnel. It's mainly inside, very responsive to RFPs. And that's just kind of how we ran the business. Work would come to us. We'd decide if we thought it was a good fit. We'd quote it, win it, do it. We'd take anything from a guy coming off the street with a tractor he wanted to refurbish, and we would do just about anything. Not really any specific direction. Didn't play in just a set number of industries. I mean, it's always been any industry.
Okay.
So very, very wide array. And I got to the point where I want to scale, and I knew that it was going to take some outside sales assistance. We've never had a VP of sales or that type of role before, and I wanted to get some outside blood in here. And that's where you came into play. Highly recommended from the Vistage community, of course, multiple people. And I thought, well, I'll interview a couple people, and you won. So it worked out good.
Thank you very much. That was a lot of fun helping you throughout the process. Before I came, you said you're primarily inside salespeople. Tell me about the compensation plan that they were on. You don't have to give me specifics, obviously, but how did you pay them? How did you reward them?
Yeah, so I mean, it was typical. I mean, just salaried, straight salary positions, no commission. We would do quarterly bonuses or annual profit sharing for the longest time, and I mean that was kind of it. No other incentive, outside of that. So very standard, for any type of office personnel type of role. So
sure. How did you track your deals? Because I don't think you were using a CRM system back before I started with you.
No experience with a CRM until you came, and so everything was done through spreadsheets, email, just kind of old school methods, I guess you could say. So,
right. And now you have a CRM.
Yes.
We turned that on when I was here. How's that going, Jonathan? You're kind of own it now, right?
Yeah, so we're using PipeDrive. PipeDrive has been an excellent tool for us to really have more visibility, check our analytics, see what's going in, what's going out, and just allow us more transparency and also just accountability within our sales department, right? And it gave us a sense of direction, where to go, when to go, when to not go, obviously. And so it's allowed for my team and I to be more organized and more efficient, and also follow up with customers on a more efficient way. Because really, at the end of the day, you can have all the tools in the world, but you have to make sure you use those tools properly, right? And I feel like it's allowed us to really just forecast for the future and what we have in our pipeline, so we can also forecast for production purposes, which has made us more efficient in the scheduling side of it. So yeah, I mean, it's been just a very valuable tool. And for CRM systems, some of the most successful salespeople, they've done statistics, they use not only the CRM, but they actually use the tools inside the CRM, whether using activities, follow-ups, things like that. Those really help out, but you have to use those tools, and I feel like my team's done a great job of doing that.
And your previous job used a CRM system.
Yes, we did.
So you were kind of grown up in that world, and you were used to it, right?
Yes.
Has that helped as you came in and I transitioned away? Has that helped the team because they're like, well, Jonathan did it? I don't. Did that help them or not?
Oh, absolutely. And for me, I've always, before I came in, when Joe was interviewing me, I told him, I said, look, we have to have a CRM, and we have to live and die by that system, because that's really the blood of the company. And it's kind of been embedded in me because my wife works, and she actually works for the digital team, so she manages Salesforce called Encino. So we're always talking about CRMs. It's kind of in our family. We're always talking about at dinner table. So I kind of know the ins and outs of how CRMs works, the statistics behind them. Obviously, Salesforce is a massive company. Now we're obviously using PipeDrive, but yeah, I mean, it's really just allowed us to see, and not just for me, but for my team to see, this is really a great tool to use, and they've gotten so used to it now that if we took it away from them today, they would know what to do. I think it'd be something that it would be tough for them to really manage their workload and where things are at, throughout their sales process, because we get so many RFQs. We've been around for a long time. We get so many RFQs that if you don't keep track of them, you will lose that business. And it all comes down to customer service and using those tools.
And I know that we just recently integrated kind of that inbound stuff going right into the CRM system after you guys take a look at it. Does that help so far? I know it's relatively new.
Yeah, absolutely. It's allowed us to really capture more and for my team to see what's coming in, because a lot of times we get so many phone calls that you can kind of things can kind of get lost in translation. So it's allowed us to really see what's coming in and capture everything as much as possible. Because like I said, we do get a lot of RFQs. We know we're very well known in the industry. That's one of the things when I came here is, people would always say, you guys are considered an elite shop. And I'm like, I know, that's why I came here. But to really hear from a customer, it really drives that point home, or hear it from someone that's not even a customer but knows who we are, it really drives that point home, and just our reputation within the industry.
within the sales team from before to after, do you think they grew up as far as their skill set, their ability to sell, their ability to think like salespeople?
I think it's come a long way. Yes. Yeah. From where we started when you first got here to where we are now, they're definitely more engaged.
Good.
Probably the most engaged I've ever seen the team. They're more cohesive now. I mean, it's just different. It's so different compared to what it was.
Right. And how are you doing on forecasting? You have some idea how to forecast the future now? Because you really couldn't do that before, could you?
No, we had no visibility really on that. We just look at backlog and that type of thing. I mean, nothing, based on whatever the beginning stages of our sales process, all that stuff. We didn't have any visibility on any of that. I mean, it was a mess. Yeah. So Pipe Drive has really helped a lot.
Right.
Sure.
And I think a lot of CRMs would have done it. So I don't want this to be about how great Pipe Drive is, even though it's a great CRM system.
Sure.
It could have been a lot of different ones. Sure. Pipe Drive just seemed to be the right one to fit with you guys. So that's great. As I was leaving and you were like, hey, I want to bring on Jonathan. When we talked about it, I was like, Jonathan, you'd never been a leader, a sales leader. You were a great salesperson, but you had never been a sales leader before. So you both went through certified sales leadership class. It's an 8-week class that you went through that I taught for that class. First impressions on that, was that a good class? Did you enjoy it? Did you learn things?
Yeah, I mean, I learned a ton. It was a lot of information, of course, but I've learned a lot about leadership, and I mean, it's applicable to the rest of my role. Not just the sales side, but
sure.
a lot of the same concepts. But yeah, I mean, I did not come from a sales background, as you know, and I mean, I'm night and day different from what sales is to me now versus what it was. Yeah. So I mean, it was phenomenal.
Great.
So,
John, what did you think?
Yeah, I think it's provided me a foundation. With never being in leadership, you don't have some type of playbook to go off of. What direction do you go, right? So it's allowed me to have a foundation and something to go off of, to where if I run into a roadblock, or maybe I have to deal with something with an employee or customer, it gives me something to go off of, to where literally sitting at my desk, and anytime I want to know something, it's not something you just put down after I'm done the leadership training. It's something I'm going to use probably for the rest of my career. You know what I mean? So I mean, I kind of call it my Bible. It's literally sitting on my desk, and anytime I have an issue, or I want to look up something, or I'm stuck on something, I literally go through that and actually look through it, and to where now I know everything is within that book, because I've looked at it so many times. So
that's great. That's a great compliment. Was there something specific during CSL class? And by the way, the nickname for Certified Sales Leadership is CSL. Was there anything specific in CSL class that really just stood out and said, man, I can use this today, or it's going to make a difference? Maybe as you were going through it, because you were taking over leadership at that time.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing, and I'll be honest with you, my problem was I wanted to control everything, right? When you first get into leadership, you want to be able to control everything. And I realized, you have to let your team do their job and allow them to really spread their wings and let them go out there and do what they need to do, because you hired them to do that job. And one of the things you recommended to me is to read The 1 Minute Manager, which has been a great book. I highly recommend that. If anybody's never read it, please read that book. It's phenomenal. It's a very easy read. So once I got into that, I realized there's a difference between motivating somebody and empowering somebody. How do you empower them? Because empowering somebody is for long term. Motivation is very short term. So it really gave me just a direction of how to manage people. But really, we don't really manage people. How do you really empower people when you collaborate with them, right? Because every day you talk to them, you're collaborating. That's why Joe said, for a while there, I feel like a lot of the departments were kind of siloed, where now, I've gotten compliments and just feedback from my team, like, hey man, I feel like now a sense of ownership. I feel like we're collaborating more. We're working more as a team. We're more cohesive. And I think it kind of speaks to what you've done, and just kind of what the knowledge and the tools you've brought to this company to allow us to get to that point.
Great, thank you. That's fantastic. I'm glad. Anything for you that stuck out?
Yeah, I mean, very similar. He did a good job there. The silos and everything, from a sales standpoint, and the empowerment of those employees. I think now with the tools we've been given, we've been able to get what I would call the best out of our sales team. And we probably wouldn't have been able to do that without the sales leadership training that we had.
That's a great testimony. Thank you.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's been huge.
That's awesome. You're a fairly unique company in that you're in Vistage. In fact, you're both in Vistage now. You're in Vistage now too, right, Jonathan? But you're also a EOS customer as well.
That's correct.
Talk a little bit, if you can, about CSL and everything I was doing when outside of CSL, just helping you, and how they kind of fit with Vistage and EOS.
So I look at Vistage as my my board of directors, essentially, right? You were an internal board of director for me. It's kind of how I looked at that relationship. You know, I know it's fractional and everything, but never met anybody with more sales knowledge in my life than you. So, but you know, Vistage is the same way, right? I go there and it's, you know, 20 plus different executives with more knowledge than I have, it seems like. And, you know, it just fuels me. Like it was uncomfortable for me at first, but it's, you know, some of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. You know, this EOS, I mean, EOS is the same way. I mean, that's a little bit different, you know, entrepreneurial operating system. So it's kind of the processes and the way we run our business now. I mean, everything is based on EOS essentially, right? And, you know, it's amazing the people I've met, the recommendations I've gotten, the network I have now, the tools I've learned is just, it's absolutely insane in all about 2 years' time.
And Jonathan, you've only been in EOS and Vistage since you've been here.
Mm-hmm.
So things that you've learned, and how did they apply to what you learned in CSL, or how do they complement each other or not complement each other?
And one of the things I've noticed about the EOS is not only has it made me a better leader within the company, but I've noticed even at home with how I interact with my family, how I interact with, you know, your community of people. It's just given me a different perspective overall how you engage with people every day, day in and day out, right? Because it's not just about what you do at work, it's about what you do outside as well, right? Is really what defines you as a person, as a man, right? As a woman. So for me, it's really allowed me to look at what accountability really looks like. There's two different levels of accountability, right? There's accountability that you think you're gonna be held accountable. There's accountability where every single week people are gonna be asking you the hard questions, right? And it's really, initially it was really scary. I'm not gonna lie, it was very intimidating, it was very scary for me. But once I got used to it, I felt this level of growth, and then it started becoming addicting to me to where now I look forward to all these L10 meetings and these retreats we're doing. So it's just, you know, growth is never easy in any situation, right? And it's really allowed me to grow into something that I didn't know I was capable of. Honestly, it's really helped to push me and elevate me to the next level to be able to be a better leader within work and also when I'm at home as well.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I like to think about when you go through Vistage, when you go through EOS, and when you go through CSL training, and just having a fractional VP of sales like me, and you have a fractional CFO, so I want to ask you about that as well.
Sure.
But when you go through that, you're kind of inviting change into your life, right? Because you don't do those things. You never hire me if you don't want to change. You never hire a fractional CFO if you don't want to change. You don't join EOS. You don't join Vistage unless you want to change, right? But change is hard. So talk a little bit about, you accepted change. How do you bring change into the organization? How do they accept it? Because, you know, to them, it might just be a job. And I know you think that this is a family. I know that.
Sure.
But talk a little bit about that.
Change here has always been very tricky, as is anything in life, especially personally. But, you know, it's, if you give structure with the change, it really helps. And you get the people to understand why you're changing and what the benefits are going to be, as opposed to just telling them you're going to change. There's no other options, right? So you have to communicate that and what the pros are going to be of all that. And, you know, what kind of the speed bumps are going to be along the way. You know, you just need to properly prepare people for that. So I think that's important, the communication side of it. But, you know, it's still difficult. You know, you have some people that are more receptive than others. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, if you have a well laid out plan and everybody sees the vision on where you're trying to go, it makes it much easier. So,
yeah. Anything from you on that, John?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is the amount of support I've gotten from Joe as well. How much he's not only invested in me time-wise, but also just the resources, putting me part of the Vistage group, the EOS. You know what I mean? It really starts with leadership. You know what I mean? That's where it starts, and I feel like Joe's done a great job. You know, most of the times when you start a new job, you have the employer that tells you, hey, we're going to do this, and nothing ever happens. Like, everything that Joe says he's going to do, he's never wavered away from that. Never, not one time. And so for me, it's given me a level of confidence that I know when I need to go to him or I need something, if I need some kind of support, he's provided that foundation for me. So I'm very grateful for that. And I think that's, you don't get that too much in life when you go to a new employer. It's a very scary situation, especially when I was at a very established company that's been around for a long time. I get a great position there, and to make this change was not easy, but I knew I made the right change once I was here and I got settled in, and And so I really appreciate that support, not only from him, but also from you as well.
Yeah, you were a great hire. I mean, I didn't interview you at the beginning. You had already known, the two knew each other. You asked me to talk to him, said, hey, I think this guy could be my new VP of sales. And I walked in a little bit of hesitance because I checked you out. You know, you're a young man, right? So like, can you do it? And I knew almost within 5 minutes that you made the right choice. He was a great guy.
And I'll tell you what, too, like just the interview process with Jonathan and watching you and your professionalism on that. I mean, I learned so much from just that. So
Okay.
I do appreciate that and your honesty and not sugarcoating things, of course. And, you know, that was great.
Oh, tell me a little bit about the future. Let's wrap this up. What does the future look like for Tri-State? What do you think of the future? This is your family business. And what do you think of the future? You're going to be required to pull it off. So.
Yeah, so, you know, I want to grow the company, of course. You know, we're looking to scale and not ridiculous, you know, ridiculous overnight scaling, you know, slow growth. We have an aggressive plan right now, which obviously EOS and our VTOs helped a lot with that and communicating that with the rest of the organization. But, you know, I see us being able to grow and implement new technology. You know, with the AI stuff coming out and AI in manufacturing, that looks very promising and some of the cool things. So I'm a big tech guy. I love the newest technology. So we're really making a push there and implementing that a lot in our organization and, you know, the software that comes with that. And, you know, it's exciting times. It's tough. I mean, you know, because it is still hard to hire people and find, you know, good cultural fits for the company. But I think the future looks great. Manufacturing in America is great, and I think it's going to continue to grow.
Great.
So I'm excited.
Cool.
Hopefully everybody else is as well, I'm sure.
100%. Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, you know, is, and I tell this to my customers, you know, there's thousands of fabrication shops out there you can go with, but I always tell them, what does a relationship look like after we get married? After you sign that contract, we are contract manufacturer, you send us a purchase order, there's going to be an issue that arises, but how do we react to that? How good is our customer service? How quickly are we to get back to the problems, resolve the issue? And that's really what it comes down to, is that issues are going to arise. To say nothing's ever going to go wrong within the manufacturing facility and the processes and all this machinery and employees and everything else is just, that's not a realistic expectation. There's going to be issues that arise, but I always tell them, you know, when something comes up, are they picking up the phone? Are they calling you? Are they trying to take care of that situation and treat you as if you're the only one customer they have, right? Even though we have hundreds of customers, you know, for us, we want that customer to feel special and feel like, you know, that we are taking good care of them and providing it in a timely fashion. And I think we've done a good job of that since you've actually gotten here and provided these tools for us. So thank you.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Very welcome. And I thank you very much for doing this interview. I really do appreciate it. In fact, I appreciated my entire time with here. Sometimes it was a challenge because we had some changes that we had to implement. We had some things that had to get done. So sometimes it was a challenge, but it was always a fun group to work with. It was always a company that cared about their customers. That was always obvious. And they just wanted to grow and do better. And we gave them ways to do that. So it was a lot of fun being your fractional VP of sales. Thank you for that opportunity. And you've graduated.
Yep.
So don't screw it up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for everything. Yeah.